ready. All right, welcome to episode 8 of Spitfire, the show where we talk fire about Spit, or Call of Duty and its esports components. So let's get right into this one. Of course, my name is Bryce. Joining me this week to do producing and also sort of a host, but not a very good one. It's Tunn, but more importantly, our guest for this week, MarkyB. Marky, how are you?
I'm good. I've been on here quite a few times now, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty much a regular now. So
Nah,
I'm not the fall. I'm not the fall guy.
No, you're no Jordan Reed. Reedy's here. Reedy's here more than you.
Oh, actually, let's
yeah.
figure out who's been on more.
You know, Reedy's definitely been on more than me,
Yeah, I
but
think
I'd say it's pretty close. I'd say he's maybe been on 5 times. I've been on like 3 or 4.
Let's say he's been on
that's-
4.
We should figure out a reward for guests that come on that often. Like
Oh.
if they get to 50 times, I'll send them a jacket.
I'm like the fall guy. I'm
50
like
times
the.
You're planning
I'm like that
having
guy you
50
can come back
episodes?
to.
Huh?
You're
I
planning
50
on-
episodes. I can do it. I've got nothing better to do on a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock.
We will be
Anyway,
cha- we will be changing the
we're
day.
off topic. We've just started. We're off topic. Right. First topic coming up. Big green scump himself. I don't know why I call him green scump, but the green wall was out in force. Scump had what 52k viewers before it got pushed to over 100k by a ninja host, I believe.
I think
He had
it's-
80k before it got pushed
Uh,
over 100k.
80k,
More,
80k.
yeah.
before it got
Yeah.
pushed.
He had 80k before Ninja hosted, and then obviously.
Which is quite frankly ridiculous. But he has been streaming quite hard, and we always know that he's a bit of a powerhouse. It's quite nice to see him not only streaming, but that fans are reacting to him bringing that content back. Because there's always the problem that you may not be as popular after you take a break, but that seems to not be an issue.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people have been obviously last year opting the decision to not stream any of their scrims, which was a weird one really because obviously they've had a lot of success previously with that, but I guess they wanted a year of just focus on pure Call of Duty, which obviously didn't really pan out well for them to be honest. So
No, it did not.
yeah, they've decided to go back to what they know, go back to streaming scrims
Mhm.
and just smoking.
Well, do you think this is curious? Do you think that's going to continue?
I think so. I think that the main thing they might do, maybe they might have not done in the past, was maybe stream up to a certain point, like right before an event, like a week
Yeah.
before. Maybe that's when they knuckled down. They like shut down the streams. Scump will probably still stream like 8s and pubs and stuff like that, but maybe turn it off for like specific like team stuff. But
it's probably really worth him streaming though. I mean, like realistically,
20, at least 20k subs now, or something stupid.
he got like 5 or it was like 5 or 10,000 that night. It was something ridiculous. So I mean, he's at stupid high numbers to the point where if you work it out by the general Twitch rule is what $3.50 you get per sub, something like that, isn't it? So he's making like 60-70 grand a month on that. So like I mean, why would he not be streaming all the time?
yeah, I mean, then you got to factor in donations, pre-roll ads, stuff like that. Like you can make a decent amount of money off just that as well if you're having like that amount of viewership. So he's making a pretty penny. So on pure monetary reasons, it would be stupid for him not to stream all the time and everything he does. But I mean, if you think about his whole team aren't benefiting from that for starters. So
Sure.
his team wouldn't really probably be too happy if he was to sit around and say, "Oh, I want to stream absolutely everything and anything." But I mean, they're a
But
benefit as well.
I feel like at the same time, like you have to look out for number one, right? Like
Yeah.
also the other optic players, like if they stream as consistently as Scumpers, they're going to get big numbers anyway.
Yeah.
Not like him, but they're going to get the monetary thing is interesting, right? For 2 reasons. One, for any normal person, that much money compared to the price pool of the year, guaranteed income, you'd be like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. I'm going to stream.
Yeah.
But for Scump, like you have to balance out. Yeah, it's a smart decision, like monetary-wise, to stream, but also he's a competitor, so he knows it can be detrimental, and also he definitely has a bit of cash himself, even buying a house recently.
Yeah, most definitely has
Like
some
so,
cash.
it's not as big a factor to Scump as it could be to other players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like if you lowball how much you think he's making a month based on these subs,
$8 grand a second.
close enough. But it's more like, so it'd be about like 60,000 a month. So if he streams and consistently keeps up these numbers for a whole year, that's 700 grand he's making. Dollars, of course.
Of just subs.
That's just off subs.
Not
That's
salary,
lowball.
not
No,
Exactly.
donations.
not guaranteed money from the pro league when you make it. Nothing of that.
Nope.
Yeah.
And that's just that. So I think if you are looking after number one, you make that a high priority. Yes, okay, you make sure that you're competitive, but you can do it at the same time. I suppose, as you said though, that you can just turn it off for scrims. He doesn't need to do it for scrims, but at the same time, if you're doing it for the 2K, that's fairly important. Well, it's fairly important, but it's the highest level of competition they've had so far. So that's pretty important.
That's the other thing, right? Here's the thing with that, like, because people don't like streaming scrims because they get this thing about people steal our strats. And Marky, you're actually a big kind of proponent of that. You used to stream all the time, then you stopped streaming scrims.
Yeah, it was more so I wanted to still stream scrims. It was more so like my teammates would be like,
scumbags.
Yeah, like nah, we'd rather you didn't scrim. And like I'm one of these guys that if it's anything that I feel like the most obviously you look after yourself priority, but at the same time like I do more so put the team ahead of everything. So like if the team didn't want me to stream, I wouldn't stream. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I guess it probably was stupid, but at the same time, it's just the decision I made at the time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because if you're going to stream the 2K as well, like this is the old adage, right? You don't win scrims. Scrims are not there for practice and they're for figuring out what works and what doesn't work. Whereas a 2K, that's like it's sort of a tournament environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the reason for streaming tournament over scrims is that if in a scrim you're going to sit there and talk about everything that goes on in the map after every map and break down almost your entire gameplay, and you really can't do that properly if you're on stream. Whereas in a tournament, it's just like you lose a map, you go on to the next map, you just talk about what you're going to do in that moment. Whereas it's like a lot more in depth when you're scrimming. I feel like feel like it's a bit less of a deterrence to stream the 2K than scrims.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, right now I've just been in the chat, and Reedy and Wuskins are both streaming scrims now. And again, this seems to kind of play into the positivity of this last couple of months. A lot of players are not only very happy with the game, but we're seeing more content come out. We're seeing players engage with their community considerably harder. I don't think that happened as much at the end of the last game or on the changeover. Is this a good omen for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's started off in a good position. I think a lot of people have obviously been harping on about the importance of content and stuff, with like Call of Duty probably producing players producing the lowest amount of content last year. You've seen probably the lowest numbers maybe last year as well. So I think that's quite a clear thing, that it's quite obvious that was definitely a factor into viewership and stuff. That's just the way Call of Duty is. It's based on the relationship between the fans and the players and stuff, so it's important to build that.
One thing that I've got about this whole streaming scrims is that if everyone's doing it, then what's the problem? Because then everyone's sort of laying everything on the table, aren't they? And at the same time, nobody. I mean, there is going to be certain people who have other people's streams open and are keeping an eye on what they're doing, but then most people will delete their VODs, so people can't go back and watch it and keep it for video. That sort of thing. So it's like. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Marky's sitting there recording.
If you were smart, you'd screen capture and record a full team's stream, wouldn't you?
Is that what you've been doing?
News in Splyce has got 6 spare rigs running, capturing gameplay. I mean, it's interesting, right? Because VOD reviews should be a thing. In almost every single sport, VOD reviews are a thing, and in esports, it should be doubly so because it does take place in that kind of medium. Like, for me, it has two things, right? There should be VOD reviews of your own games, and there should be VOD reviews of other teams' games, because you need to learn. And no pro, no matter how big their ego, no matter how popular they are, no matter how many times they've won, plays perfect Call of Duty. There may be flashes of brilliance, but nobody plays perfectly. So you can always learn. You can always figure out how to do something better. And I think some of the veterans are better at doing that than some of the young players coming through, because they can look at their own mistakes first before they criticize their teammates.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that's an issue with dealing with amateur level players. You see them just coming through, they've got the talent, but sometimes it's harder for them to make those drastic improvements going through. They have a problem with a specific game mode, a specific map. It might be harder for them to take criticism, it might be harder for them to just, like you said, see their own mistakes. Like you said, players that have competed for years, they've been doing this for years. That's why you don't really see the likes of Krim, for example, having much of a problem with pinpointing exact mistakes his team's making, exact mistakes.
Occasionally has a go at Scum, which I think is
Fair
hilarious
play.
to get at each other.
I think it's fair play. Like, I think
know,
Scum.
He's one of those players,
There's
isn't
not
he?
many people who can tell Scum what to do. Grim
Yeah.
is definitely one of those people.
But Scum's one of those players that is just sort of like, he can fly off the handle, can't he? He can just start sprinting at people because he has that much confidence in his own gun skill. Where sometimes he sort of need to put a bit of a leash on him, don't you?
Most definitely.
Again, like I said, no one plays perfect COD now. But do you know what really shocked me? This is how I knew that the players are really engaging with content this year. Jared turns his stream.
With a webcam at one point as well.
What?
He had a webcam.
Oh, yes, he did.
Yeah,
he
had a webcam at one point, but he said he wasn't a big fan of the webcam, so he turned it off. But I'm going to try and bring him around to the webcam situation again because I feel like having a webcam is such an important thing for streaming. In general, I'd say it's like the one of the most important things.
People have always wondered because he's just like a mystery. Just never does anything camera wise if he can avoid it.
Even if he's like completely blank expression, like if something happens, that would just be funny. Like just to see like him getting bullshit and just seeing him just like.
Yeah. last time we did that was TCM House, right?
Yeah, back on AW.
Yeah, and he was forced to.
But the thing is with Jared, he is like quietly hilarious. That's the thing.
If you know him, especially.
Jared's funny as hell. He just doesn't. Nobody like fan wise ever gets to see it.
No, which is disappointing because I think if a lot of people did, they would warm to him more, and he's already a really popular character in the scene. So I think he should. I mean, it's he doesn't need to. He's already doing all right, But I just think it would be nice if he did.
Go on. Sorry, finish.
No, I was finished. I'm done.
That's what I thought you tailed off there. Well, speaking of Jared, let's talk a little bit about Splyce because we have the opportunity to with Marky. Marky, how are they getting on? Obviously, we saw the 2K results. I mean, it's not too bad for an initial outing.
Yeah, I think that we've been doing really well. I think as weird as this sounds, I sort of expected us to lose to the team we did. Honestly, those guys, I don't expect them to be as good as they're doing right now. That like Major Maniac, Space, like etc. team. I don't expect them to be doing as good as they are now. But they're putting like the most amount of time into the game than any American team. And in scrims, they're like definitely the team that I feel like when we're playing against them knows most about the game. Like we struggle most against them in scrims, and that was kind of apparent when we played them in 2K. Yeah. We can play other teams, like other top teams. I won't name them, but and like not lose a map, but then you can play against those guys, and you might look at the players on paper and be like, nah, they're terrible, but they've simply just putting in more time, just going over things and improving the game. That squad. So to answer your actual question, he's been looking really good. Obviously, came top 8 in the 2K. I think it's our first 2K. We've realistically been playing the new rule set for like 2 weeks, I think. I can't remember the exact date when everything got announced, but obviously prior to that, the practice was mainly like S&D, playing without any specialists, without any nades, all that stuff. So the practice is still fairly new for that reason. So I think that you can't really take too much away from results, but I do expect, like I said, that team to be good in the long run. Just maybe like a lot. They're not going to be in finals in the future, but I do think they could definitely be a top 8 team.
I think.
Okay, it's already gone.
I think the thing is with that sort of team is they grind out, and come the first event they'll have a good time. But you think like it's like peaking too early, isn't it? It's like they learn everything, but then when they're beating other people start learning off them, and then the gap sort of closes. But they are that sort of team, you're right, that do grind out these results at the beginning. They grind out the game. I mean, come Vegas, they could legitimately be a threat. Obviously, they've got to get through the open. Do they have to get through?
I think they have to get through open bracket, yeah.
Yeah, I'd presume so.
I can see them breasing through open bracket if they stay on their current form.
Because the beginning of the game is about who learns the game the quickest, isn't it? Towards the end of the game is the better representation of who the better teams are, but the beginning of the game is about who starts to learn that. I mean, last year was maybe one of the ones that sort of went away from that, where it was TK who won the first month, but they actually had continued on to have a good year as well. Did drop off a little bit, I suppose, but most of the time, first event comes down to who is really learning the game better, and they've clearly done very well, to be fair.
Yeah, TK won last year at the start of the year just by their knowledge of just the little things. Like no one was really abusing stuns at the start of the game. They had all those things down to a T, all that stuff, and then obviously they had that drop off. Then they made those roster changes and came back up, and then but I put that really down to the roster moves.
How is Jared getting on team with 4 Americans?
He's loving it, to be fair. He's actually thriving, I'd say. He's way more comfortable than he has been in previous years because don't know if it's not really an ego thing, but I just think he's really confident with his team currently. I think he's confident in every single player to do their role and be the best at it. So I think that's making him just play better. He just looks really comfortable, and I think the game is in general as well just suits him. Fast paced, uses obviously that rune specialist, making some crazy grapple.
Oh, I can't wait to see that in a tournament with him. He's always been one of my favorite players to watch. Just not just because I know him, just because of the way he plays. Just because it's always fast. It's always like you can watch him and be like, oh my god, what he is doing is ridiculous.
Yeah, and he's really good at shoulder picking and stuff like that as well. So that's like really good in this game. It's just like suits him really.
Yeah, I remember, was it 1v3 pulled off?
1v4.
Yeah.
Shoulder peeking masterclass from Jed there.
Yeah, that was a class.
That was a Crowley, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But yeah, so it looks like it's a good omen pushing forward with Splyce and with streaming and so on and so forth. But let's talk about a slightly negative aspect. I don't know how serious this was because I didn't get to kind of do my research into it before we come live. People saying that they want the Saug nerfed or Sorg. I don't know really how to say it. Sorg. Saying they want it nerfed.
I don't know.
I don't know because if that gets nerfed, then everyone's using the Maddox. So
yeah.
The thing is, it does.
I don't mind 3-gun meta. It looks like a 3-gun meta at the moment, and I don't mind the 3-gun meta.
I don't agree with that. I think it does its job. The thing is, it's inconsistent as well. So you nerf it, then it just becomes even worse. Here we go. He's way for his Chinese, but I think for me, I don't think it should be nerfed because then we'll just see more Maddox. I don't think we'll see any of the other SMGs because I don't think they're up to scratch. Unless it came with a buff to the rest of the SMGs and then the sword gets nerfed, then alright. But nah, it's the only viable SMG. Why would you nerf it?
I think. So this is the issue, right? This is a very weird 3-gun meta because normally you don't have them break down like this. The Maddox just seems to be the go-to gun for a lot of scenarios.
Yeah.
Except very, very close where the Sorg is clearly better. And very, very long with the ICR just has fantastic recoil control but lacks mobility. Now, theoretically, that sounds like a great 3-gun meta to me.
Yeah.
But I can already see that being pushed into more and more Saug territory or Sorg territory because the game's already getting faster and faster. So I don't really know how long it's going to be a viable. It wouldn't surprise me to see one ICR, 1 or 2 Maddoxes, and then Sorgs for the rest of the team. Like that's where I think it's going to go.
It seems to be 2 Sorgs, 2 Maddox, or 3 Maddox, or 2 Sorgs, 2 Maddox, 1 ICR at the minute.
Yeah, but I think it'll push forward. I think it'll go even faster. I wouldn't even surprise me to see teams running 3 Sorgs, 2 Maddox maps. Just unbelievable pressure.
Mark, what has Splyce been doing for the most part?
Eventually, I think that the ICR is going to phase out of respawn. Because like currently, ICR is like it's only actually used in like a certain amount of maps. It's obviously more used in like control and stuff like that because it's like slower paced. Everyone's sort of coming off like the same spawn point and pushing forward. But with the chaotic nature of a lot of the hardpoint maps, like a lot of teams are just scrapping off their Maddox and using scrapping off their ICR and using a Maddox instead. I think the SOG also to say this, the SOG has obviously an insane time to kill close range, but as a SOG player, to be good with that weapon, you have to literally take a lot of like close range routes, and it sort of limits like the way you move around the map. So I don't actually think it's as OP as everyone thinks. There's obviously a lot of crazy clips and stuff like that come out, which obviously it can do crazy stuff like that, but to be a good SOG player, you literally just have to take all the close range routes around the map, and it limits you.
I mean, I even realize it in Publix because I'm trying to get like gold camo for the SOG at the minute, for instance, and like I find myself making sure I'm not going down these long lanes because you know how good the ICR is, you know how good the Maddox is, so you do not want to go in that sort of territory with a SOG. Rightly so, that's what it's for. It's an SMG. You do not want to be in these long sites, so you get up close and personal, and it wins gunfights. That for me should be the argument. It does its job. It wins. 9 times out of 10, it should be beating you up close if you got a Maddox or an ICR. It should, because that's what it's designed to do.
Yeah.
If it was, don't get me wrong, if it was beaming people at range, then fair enough. But it's not. I think I'm not on board with this whole nerf it thing. Not at all. I think it's good.
I still see people in Maddoxes win close range gunfights against a SOG. Like, it's not it's just one of those things. I think everyone's just overreacting. Everyone always just wants to move on to nerf one thing, nerf another. I really don't think SOG is the I'd say that's the least of our issues, to be honest with you, currently. I think he's fixed a lot of the...
That's a really good way to kind of move on to this next bit. We're seeing a lot of specialist highlights at the moment. Don't know whether that's a good or bad thing.
I seen Dylan's last night. Did you see that?
What, attach?
Attaches.
Yeah, that was in our scrim. Yeah, I
yes, it was. Yeah.
I just spectated him doing that, mate. We were all just in tears. Like, that's sick, guys. What can we do about that? Like, just 9-piece grenade launcher.
One of the things that wouldn't have happened if it didn't. That wouldn't have happened if Fog of War wasn't in it. Because you watch it, you see the 3 pings come down the map. The second lot of kills that he gets.
Yeah.
Boom. Like, you just fire it in because he knows they're all there. That's one of my issues that's become a bit more prevalent this week is the Fog of War thing. Yeah.
And if you had a trophy system off of every spawn as well,
yes.
Like we knew, obviously we'd already used our trophy prior to that. They destroyed it, so none of us had any trophies. So like in the situation of where the guy's got a war machine, you want to just drop a trophy in the area and it really does nothing. So we would have just dropped a trophy in front of us off that second spawn, like as we're breaking in, and it would have done anything. But obviously the current way it is, it can't happen. So
yeah, I can see that. Like we also saw. I mean, there's been a lot of kind of cool grapple plays and Ruin as well.
Yeah.
I saw the Karma one the other day. That was nice. I mean, that's the kind of the compromise, right? Is some people like specialists, some people don't like specialists, and on both sides of that, you know, you're going to see the flashy plays with specialists, and people want to watch those. But at the same time, it's not always the greatest thing for players facing that's like. There's nothing I could have done about some guy with a gravity hammer coming out of the sky. Like,
yeah,
it's always going to be a compromise.
We dealt with this stuff on Black Ops 3 and IW, though. I think that's what everyone keeps forgetting. We had a year without it on World War 2, and then now everyone's preaching competitiveness. But it was the same in Black Ops 3 and IW. It was realistically a lot of the respawns were decided by who used their specialist better. Like, who used that... Obviously, there's not a camo in this game, but who used that camo better? Who used that heatwave better? It all came...
was basically a 1 round in S&D. I remember we were talking about it. It's like, as soon as you've won the round, basically.
Yeah, same with, like, if a lot of the specialists, if they were used correctly, it was like a guaranteed round. Heatwave as well, like... there was a lot of situations on S&D or in, like, a hard point, or, like, Purifier in hard point as well. There was a lot of specialists that you could use and win a whole map because of it. And that's the way it's going to be currently.
Do you feel like that's the case in this game so much, or do you think it was more so in like Black Ops 3 where it was, or in IW where it was more of a specialist oriented win? Do you think it's as bad in this game?
Honestly, I don't think the specialists get as many wins on this game. There is games where you'll see, like, for example, that thing attached on.
Yeah.
That can happen where a War Machine guy can get like a 5-piece, which might have not happened in previous games. But then you can have moments where the War Machine will get nothing and the guy will just be sitting there spamming into a trophy system and losing his team a hill because of it. It's I'd say it's a lot less consistent, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think it was quite easy to be like, you sort of would set up on Black Ops 3, for example, you'd know, oh, this guy is at this specific amount of points. He's probably got this heat wave. Let's set up this way. Like, don't all clump together.
Yeah.
It was sort of in that way, but the way it is, like, currently, it's a bit harder to track, and also it's just in general because of like not having those abilities to throw in trophies and stuff to counter like at all times. It's kind of hard to consistently be countering a specialist or and stuff like that. So
how many of your players are taking trophies? Or how many players do not your team? Let's say in general, how many?
Some teams more than others. Like there's, I'd say like most of the time it's on like hard points. Hard points, 99% of all hard points you'll see all teams run 2, and then on like control you'll probably see maybe 2, maybe 1. But I've also seen teams use like 3 trophies. I've seen teams use like just pull out like 4 trophies on like one, like when somebody's got a war machine or something like that, just to like counter the other team, throw a trophy back and stuff like that. Like I've seen some mad strategies so far, but yeah, I'd say consistency wise, it's probably like 2.
Okay.
On hard point.
That's all right. I think it's interesting because it's obviously a different mechanic, right? It's always going to be difficult to kind of pros to figure out moving forward, and you are right. The stacking score thing is no longer a thing you can actually work it out. It's got to be time, and again, which is something that potentially coaches on stage could look at, but we won't get into that because we've covered that before. But yeah, there is this kind of this deeper kind of trying to figure it all out at the moment. The pros are still adjusting, right? You see all these pros still trying to figure it out. I mean, Vegas is 9 weeks away. Nine weeks. Sorry, Vegas is a month away. It's a month away. Yeah, it's a month away. And teams are still trying to figure this out. They're still trying to figure out exactly what they need, and we're seeing tiny shifts in the meta just because the patches are coming quite fast. So I don't exactly know how this is going to end up when we go into Vegas. It could be anybody.
It's first event though, isn't it? I suppose it's going to be. They probably. I mean, I don't know how much of a process goes into them seeing that Vegas is in a month. They don't want to make any big changes to the game. I don't know how much bearing that has on their decisions to make changes to the game. I'd imagine it has some. You would hope. I know in World War II we had absolutely zero because that was like those patches coming out like the day before the event and stuff like that. But
IW, we had patches where we're at events. I remember there was one where they changed the portal.
Yeah,
what
was it? What map was it on? I remember it specifically. It was
throwback.
Yeah, then you couldn't do it over the top of the house.
There was like a 1-pointer spot, and then somebody there was a patch. Everyone loads into the map. The next game, somebody's tried to do the spot, and then can't hit the pointer.
I remember watching it live, and like they were like, "Hold on."
Yeah, we were all sitting on the stage looking at the minimap, like, how is he not hit that 1-pointer? Wait, does that goal has moved? We're all like, wait a minute, they've moved the goal.
You would like to think that wouldn't happen now, but
yeah, I think that we've had
several
patches. It should be fine. I think it should be fine. Like it looks like they're doing more frequent patches with less big swings.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't really be an issue. I mean, I say it shouldn't be an issue. Honestly, if they remove one bullet from the clip on some gun nobody uses, the pros would still moan if it was near an event. So we'll see how it kind of comes out here. But let's move on now. Let's talk about the 2K. Big news of this week. The first kind of competitive tournament really has gone down for the CWL teams. Tunn, I'll let you choose EU or NA first.
Let's go through EU first, because it's a little bit of a shorter one, isn't it? There's not as many top teams to talk about.
The most interesting thing about the European 2K is that 5 out of the top 8 teams do not have an org. All of the top 4 teams do not have an org at all.
Yeah,
which is quite interesting considering these are all kind of well-known names. You know, ex-CWL players coming through. So the top ones in here is DQWEW. Don't know what that is. Pick Us Up, Please, Coolie Boys, and Get Us to Vegas. Now, the winning team was Nevo, Weeman, Quicker, Dylan, and Nolson. If you do follow CWL, you will have heard some of these names. You know, it's kind of the remnants of Team Sween. But that's not a team that a lot of people would expect to be in this position.
No, you look at that team though, and you look at the team of grinders, don't you? It's the same thing as the team like Spacely and Havoc and all that lot. On the other side of things in America, the guys who put time into the game, big style, and it's obviously showed. I mean, I know I can't remember who beat Reciprocity. Was it not those guys? I can't remember.
Couldn't tell you, Chief.
No, actually, I think no, because it was. I think it was Get Us to Vegas because it was funny because Tommy was playing against Chain and Maple.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
and they 3-0'd them.
Yeah, you're right.
So like things like that. I was actually watching Reciprocity all day, and I actually thought that they looked really, really good until it got to that point, and then they got 3-0'd. Every single map was fairly close, but I don't know how much those two will read into these results though. I think it's one of them things where it's an online tournament.
Well, so I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, I get that it's an online tournament, and pros don't always give it that kind of credence and that prestige. But in the grand scheme of things, we've been talking repeatedly about benchmarking going into Vegas.
Yeah.
And this is more relevant than Champs, which was on a different game a month ago. So you have to give this some credence. You have to look at it and say, like, this is at least the only information we actually have. You know, fortunately, we're going to have more events. We're going to see how it goes into Vegas, but this is the event we have. And right now, the big names, Team Reciprocity and Red Reserve, not in the top 4. Gone Gaming, I mean, to be fair, they're probably about right. No Org, that's Mad Cat, Dave, Alex, Petey, and Josh.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a query around their loss.
I mean, they lost to they lost last map to Quicker Than You and stuff like that. Who obviously went on to win the whole 2K.
Yeah,
and they should have won. They had the game 1, game 5.
Yes, I remember watching that, actually. Yeah,
We've used a streak, so like, you got to give them some like well, I mean, you got to blame Dave for starters, but you got to say fair play to them.
He's too good looking. You can't blame him for anything.
No, we can blame him for everything if he keeps posting photos of me online from the bloody photo shoot.
That's even better. I
don't know how he got a hold of them. Anyway.
I mean, here's the thing, right? I feel like because Mad Cat's team doesn't have an org, people keep forgetting that this is still, for me, it could be a very Mad Cat, DeQueeve, Alex, Petey, and Josh. Now, the players in here, the only one whose stocks dropped massively last year was Josh.
Yeah,
Josh dropped everybody else. People were
so
so unhappy with that roster move last year because of the way it ended up playing out. But then you go back and look at Josh's history. Like he's been in places where he's done the underdog before.
I'd argue Petey's stock dropped as well.
You could argue all their stocks pretty much dropped because Steve was on IW was obviously considered one of the best, if not the best European player at one point. And then obviously last year he had a lot of bad results, nowhere near the same level as it was the previous years. And then you have like Petey, obviously, who I'd say he's maybe the only player in the team that has stock from World War II is slightly went up because a lot of players see this game as more suited to the way Petey plays. So I'd say Petey's stock's high. I'd say Dylan and Josh haven't really drastically changed. I think that they built this team with a lot of good players, obviously.
It's one of my teams to watch. Honestly, it really is. I just think it surprises me they don't have. If anything, it surprises me a lot of these teams don't have an org. Like you talk about at the other half of Epsilon, the Cootie Boys that come top 4 in this. Yeah. That's really Vortex, Moose, Hawkeye, and Denza. They don't have an org. Right now they have nothing. You know
what? I think
it's one of those ones, right? I'm gonna answer this one. So a lot of players nowadays are hearing about what the other like sort of higher level players are making, and they're wanting to see. Obviously, they're not expecting the same, but they're trying to like squeeze like more money out of these orgs. So like, it's not like they've not got any offers from orgs. I'm sure all of these teams have offers from like lower level organizations, but nowhere near like the amount they actually want. So like they're sort of in the situation where why would we sign with a team like of that level long term when we expect to be in the CWL and then get offers from like these bigger organizations with more money, so we could like theoretically lose money long term. So like it doesn't really make sense to them to commit to anything unless they have some sort of deal in place where once you qualify for the CWL, your salary goes up to this amount, etc. So
exactly, I think as soon as that happens,
teams are negotiating that, right?
Yeah. Well, you would think so, but as soon as it happens for some of these teams, you'd like to think the offers come flooding in a little bit more.
What happened to the old days of playing for a jersey?
Yeah, no, I remember our TCM days getting paid absolutely diddly squat. Well, I mean, I was supposed to get paid, but they didn't pay me, so.
They ran out of the scene owing people money anyway.
Yeah, they did. I used to like them as well. They gave me a birthday cake on my birthday as well, but no salary.
Jim and Craig.
Red Reserve, a lot of people expect them to do very well here and coming top 8. I mean, it's still a good result. Like I said, I know even now that if you said any of this to any of these pro players, like they're just gonna lash back because they don't count it in the same regard as a lot of us do about this. But because it's the only results, I have to go off the only results and talk about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. Is there anybody not on this list who we are overlooking here? I'm trying to look down the top 32.
No, I think you look. I'm actually surprised Heretics are as low as they were. To be honest with you, I know I said it's just online, but I don't know. I think that team,
Vodafone Giants. I mean, it's got Devor in.
The Heretics have been the best Spanish team for a while now. To be fair, I think they're the best non-UK team. To be honest with you, am I talking shit, Mark? I don't think I am.
Nah, you're not talking shit.
Right.
You're quite correct there. You'd maybe say that potentially Whalers' team could be another good non-UK team because they have, as much as you don't know a lot about those other players in their team, if you can see them on the list, Zeke, Yuzel, Risk, and Atlas. Risk came as probably the best non-EU player as a singular player last year. Right. He would be destroyed everyone in scrims.
What team was he on?
He was on
Monaco.
Nah, he wasn't even on Monaco. He became 18 right before, like towards the end of the game, like right before Anaheim, or I would say, I think right before Anaheim, and he was in like one of those half decent French teams. I think a lot of the French teams sort of like fell apart around that time, but he was like unreal. I think he had some talented players there. Yuzo just turned 18. He was previously banned. He was one of the players that was ringing against me last year. Cheers for that one.
Boys, was he?
Cheers for that one, mate. And then there's just got a few decent underrated French players, so I think they could be good as well.
Okay.
Here's the thing that I've just realised. Here's the thing I've kind of realised. Looking at this EU 2K, if you swapped 5th to 8th with 1 to 4, that would probably look more normal.
Yeah.
Look at
outside
the
of
names
Gone
there.
Gaming, maybe
outside of Gone Gaming, if you swap those two around, that's how a lot of people would have picked this to go.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Cuddy Boys Reedy's team up in there. But yeah, it's just one of them things where it comes down to a couple of moments here and there. I said when I seen Reciprocity play against Quicker and Co, it was a close game. They did lose 3-0, but every single map was pretty close. When I see, well, obviously we know that Dave's team when they were playing against Dylan and Co as well, it was pretty close from them. I just think it comes down to small moments where you would expect these other teams to probably do it on LAN. One thing I did want to point out actually about Mad Cat and Co, Dave looks like he potentially is the best player on that team, from what I've seen in his scrims. In terms of just numbers, I would say as well. But like he looks
if he's comfortable and he's doing that, then they're in for a good year.
Yeah, he looks more like the Dave that we've seen in the years gone past, not necessarily in World War II. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. But I'm interested to see how Alex does, because for me he looked a little bit quiet in that team.
I think
I'm
he's gonna be he's gonna be good.
I think he'd be good, but I'm interested to see how he does outside of the Unilad team that he got brought onto. I still think. Yeah, I don't know if they'll place higher than Reciprocity through the air. I don't know.
Here's something in two things in the chat. Someone wants to know what Marky thinks of what COD players are actually work, which is kind of a loaded question because Marky is in charge of COD players, so maybe not as fair as it could be. And the other one, this is just a comment. EGL should fund Reedy's team because he's a regular on here. I think that's fair.
I just asked Glenn. If we just fund Reedy's team to Vegas, I'm sure we'll.
I think that's fair. I think maybe we should start a fundraiser, a Spitfire fundraiser.
A Spitfire fundraiser.
Yeah, see if we can't get him 6-7 quid.
Yeah, well, that's only like 50p per view. We'll be fine.
Yeah. Marky, people are asking what you think COD players are actually worth. I think it's an interesting question in terms of are players kind of inflating this market at the moment, or is it just where it should have been? Because I said in previous years, orgs definitely took the piss. Nowadays, it seems like it's gone the other way. Players are pushing further and further. Now, I have no problem with players getting played, but if it's cutting you out of bringing orgs into the scene, it may be a bit difficult.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that is cutting out a lot of organisations. Like you'd see sort of unknown organisations picking up like half decent teams in previous years, but I think it's one of those things that I don't think the player salaries now currently are on the higher end of things for the landscape of like how big Call of Duty is, but I don't think that's really down to the players. I think a lot of that's been down to the organisations sort of having like bidding wars for players. Obviously, you'd have two teams that were based, two different organisations, one team, and they're throwing money at these players. Then every year, it just been getting higher and higher, obviously, because players are out of contract. Oh, you want to re-sign with this org? Oh, we're going to offer you an extra $3,000, and then every year it's just sort of grown and grown and grown. And I probably expect that trend to continue to happen. To be honest with you, it's just orgs wanting players. That's basically what's happening.
But I think the problem is the curve is wrong. I think those top teams, there should be I can see you being worth the money. I think the issue being right now is that those step downs aren't happening as much as they should. Like if you're bordering on CWL League, like you should be like a 10th of the rest of them, like max. Like, and that's something that the issue for me is you have to be more realistic. I know everybody and your mates and you've beaten these teams and they're getting more, but if your stock's not at the same level here, the elite level player should be on 10 times what a top 16 team is.
You got to think about it this way: you're getting way less stream time, you're getting less prize money returned to the organization. Like things like people wanting to buy your jerseys, stuff like that. There's like obviously way less of that, and I think that's what a lot of players don't actually consider.
Yeah. Basically, you have to be in it to win it. If you have a really good year and you smash people and you win almost everything, then the next year you get your money. But you don't have that kind of like, oh, we're on a terrible prize money, but we've been winning all these events. Yeah, because you signed a contract. They're taking a risk on you, man. Like, it has to be something that happens in that regard. Anyway, we're off topic because we've got other things to cover, and the other thing we have to cover is the NA too. Because that was very interesting, because that's where the viewership numbers kind of rolled in. So let's talk about that. Of course, first of all, Optic Gaming walk away with a W, first one in a while. Then it's Team Space League, 100 Thieves, United, G2 Esports, MarkyB, Sweet Chicken, and Splyce in the top 8. Optic Gaming coming straight in for their 2K win. That's going to make a lot of Optic fans very happy. Wasn't a good year from last year.
What I will say is they won the first 2K last year.
They won the first 2K last year.
There you go.
Jeez.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you
so it don't mean shit.
Nah, I do think that this year they're going to be better. I think that's just apparent. I think that this game is just going to suit a lot of their players in general a lot better. So I do think that there is a lot to take away from that result, but obviously I don't know if they're going to be as dominant as they were, obviously winning every single map. Yeah, so I can definitely see them not winning every event. I don't think they're going to be in some sort of dynasty. I think that they might win an event here or there, but I don't think that they're what the first 2K can't really show much. I don't think.
I would have liked to see them play 100 Thieves in the final. I'm not going to lie to you. I would have liked to see the videos.
I don't think that would have been good. I think the final
in between maps, then you could have had like Hex and Nadeshot just in a boxing ring. That's what I want to see.
They're still best pals, man. Still best pals. You don't watch Hex's vlogs.
It's a friendly rivalry.
Yeah, I know it's good. It's a good rivalry.
You're gonna hate your friends,
mate. I'm not gonna lie.
I hate all my friends, including you two.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie though. I really sort of wish that Karma went 100 Thieves, just so we had that definite rivalry there. That would have been sick. But never mind.
Oh well.
Would have been akin to the Scump to Envious thing. I think that's what it would have been like.
Yes, it would definitely been like that. But speaking of Envious, 17-32, albeit just 2K. They were looking all right online as well, if I remember rightly. Mark, I don't think you'll be able to tell me more probably because you probably scrimmed them.
Yeah, no, they're definitely, I'd say, a top 6 team. I think that.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's still early. Everyone's literally 2 weeks into scrimming this rule set. I think there can be freak results quite easily, and I think they just had one of those ones. It's online. As much as obviously I'd hate to always use online as an excuse, but it is quite clearly over the years there's been players that have done well online as well as doing well on LAN, but there's quite clearly been players that just don't translate the same over. So.
And then you got Luminosity, top 16, FaZe, top 16 as well. Who did you lose to? You lost to Havoc basically in that, didn't you?
Yeah. The God Squad.
They get them second. Like that's not a thing you want to look over. Again, it's one of these things. Like people seem to underestimate how much a game can change a player's kind of where they sit in the landscape of Call of Duty. Some of the cream always rise to the top, but a lot of these other teams could be a crapshoot. Like you've got to figure out exactly where they're going to be with a few results under their belt. And this could lead to a really good kind of second roster mania when it all kind of kicks off. But I don't know. Right now, you've got to remember the players are desperate to get in that Pro League. It's all about the Pro League. There is very little else on these players' minds. And that starts at Vegas.
Yeah.
So you've got to really nail it down.
I think the goal for example, that space lane, that should be just to make it into the top 32 as much as they're obviously looking really good right now and maybe wanting to fly high and get a top 4 and guarantee themselves that spot. But I think realistically, I still don't see them as a top 4 team come Vegas. I think currently, right now, as today, they are, because I just think they're ahead. They've been putting more effort in than other teams, like I was saying before. But I think when that gap starts to close, they just simply don't have the same talent as other teams. And that'll obviously bring them a bit more to like the level they're at.
Yeah, I mean, so I was kind of reading down the list here of the NA 2K, and there is one team that's kind of sticks out to me, not just because I'm hungry.
MarkyB?
Sweet Chicken.
Sweet Chicken, who's in them?
Sweet Chicken.
Oh,
I don't think I've ever
Phantoms.
heard of these, and I don't remember ever casting them, and I may be wrong. Phantoms, Gravity, Tish, Azim, Mosh.
No Mosh.
I know Phantoms, Gravity, and Tish. They were all in that team from Anaheim that beat us, and they beat us in the pool play.
Okay.
What was our team name?
Millennium, yeah? Are we talking about?
No. Splyce. When I was coaching Splyce.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. They came out of open bracket. They had a close game of Optic. They beat us. And they lost to Optic in a close series. What the hell was their name? I'm just gonna Google it right now. Anaheim CWL. Here we go. Let's
I
find
don't
out.
think there's anybody else close to get. Not really. In the top there, it seems to be quite universally seen. I mean, Team Spacey did very well, right? Havoc, Spacey, Major Maniac, Negative, and Marks. That's a team coming second here. Big result for them. Like,
Yeah.
they're above 100 Thieves. They're above E United. They're above things like Splyce. You know, these other teams. And obviously, right now looking for an org. So so they've got to be in talks. They've got to be in talks. So there's no way, especially after this,
I
they
think
don't have good offers.
Playing their cards right and banking on the fact that they think they're going to qualify for Pro League. But then the other side of things, there's yet to be too many announcements on this whole amateur circuit thing, where is that might allow some teams to still be able to get themselves a contract even if they're not in the Pro League, because that's going to probably have some coverage this year. It's going to have its own prize pool, that sort of thing, you think. Yeah. So there's still opportunities for people to do that, but I think a lot of people are sort of banking on qualifying for Pro League and then sort of making their move from there, which I think is the smart but risky decision to make. For teams like that, it's like there's no guarantees with them, but if they qualify for Pro League, then suddenly see what happens.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of teams that are sort of in that position right now, just sort of waiting, being patient.
It's the best thing to do. It's the best thing for them to do, because then it's at least a guarantee to that organisation that we're going to be at the top for the rest of the year. We're pretty much guaranteed. We're guaranteed champs now. We're guaranteed to be within the money, or in some money at least. We get plenty of coverage. This is what we can do. Now we've got this, and then they physically have that to prove that to this org, not just that, oh well, we think we'll make a Pro League. If they're in there, it's easier for an org to pick them up.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that we're starting to get some storylines come through. Just little ones, just like teasers
The
of people trying to build some stuff up.
Optic one is the one I like.
A United Optic, that seems to be a thing here. Someone said to me, Aches versus Optic again, but I said that doesn't really count this time. I went because he was criticising promotion of Scump's stream. It wasn't actually against Optic.
Yeah.
It was just like he would like it to be done for other pros.
Go on. Sorry, one I seen last night was Splicey United. We seen Donny talking some.
Yeah. I mean, actually, no. I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go on with that one. Yeah, that's Donny hates Temp. And Donny hates JCap. They hate each other. Storylines.
I'm not gonna say it's a storyline because I've already seen JCap's comment on it that he knew it was bait and trolling.
JCap was on our call like a minute later, just talking to us. So yeah, it was a bit of banter, obviously.
But I like things like that. Like that's fun. But it's also, I mean, here's the issue, right? If you're mainstream, you're like, oh no, it's terrible. It's look at them, just adolescent boys screaming at each other. It's like, yeah, but being an adult, like we enjoy the Conor McGregor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the same thing.
Yeah,
it's in the same league. It's in the exact same league.
I think something.
So I never get it when people like go, oh, it's awful. I get that there's limits, right? There's an area, but that kind of like, first of all, it was hilarious to watch. But that kind of like friendly trash talking, building it up, having a bit of a rivalry, you know, like him just throwing what wasn't even real shade. That's for me.
It's just trash.
Fun. Yeah,
it was hilarious. I was dying. I was dying.
And I don't want to see anybody like go, oh, it's unprofessional when, you know, Conor McGregor can run around saying whatever he wants and throwing things through bloody bus windows. Like that's too far. Yeah. But this is perfectly fine.
And the UFC used it in their promotion for the fights. So I mean, it just shows you that these things are used in a promotional sense as well, isn't it? Like the CWL, for all that they would probably find people for saying shit, they would love it as well. Of course they would love rivalries. And I think it was JP made a tweet about it saying, "Oh, last year everybody was complaining there's no rivalries. Now there's people complaining about people talking shit." It's like you can't have both. I'm all for it. I want to see.
I'm all for it.
I want people scrapping on main stage.
I want
at this
Marky
point.
involved in it. That's what.
Yeah, I'm gonna start, mate. If we play Optic at what event is it? Vegas.
You're gonna take on Teep. You're screwed, mate.
Oh yeah, I'm
you
gonna
are in so much trouble if you do.
Nah, I'm not gonna take on Teep. I'm not taking on Teep. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna. Nah, I'm not gonna fuck with the team. I like all the team. I'm just gonna run to the crowd and start spearing Optic fans.
Just Marky stuttering Optic fans all over the shop.
Literally, I'm picking up one of those MLG chairs and smacking it on someone's head.
Nah,
I'm not really doing that.
I was trying to figure out what coach Marky would start a good rivalry with. It's not Teep.
You and Shane.
Me and Bevels.
Shane would be good. Shane would be good, but only the English would understand what on earth they were saying to each other.
I would love to hear Shane behind the team chatting shit to the other. I know he was good at it anyway, but I think when he could concentrate more on that, concentrate on the game, it'd be fantastic.
I think it's interesting. Shane's not as He was more of a face when he was a player. I'm surprised as a coach now. He seems to be more in the background than some of the other coaches. Like Marky's more out there as a coach. Teep's more out there as a coach.
He's in
Burns is out there more as a coach. Like it surprised me that Shane hasn't taken more of a thing, because Shane has a great personality. Like people love Shane as a player more for his personality than his gameplay. Like that was his biggest criticism. People didn't like his gameplay a lot of the time.
I think you'll see more from this year. That obviously reciprocity, if you've seen, have been like promising a lot of content from the team, stuff like that. So you're going to see a lot more of them, I think.
Yeah. I would love to see Shane develop as a more on-camera face for that team.
Yeah, same.
If reciprocity, if it gets back to you, you need Shane in that environment, but he needs to be let loose. The stuff he did with Lightning Pandas and the brand with Lightning Pandas was fantastic.
Yeah,
he
I think if you
he didn't have any restrictions.
Yeah,
obviously
I think
he needs some restrictions, but
and the reciprocity, general bar Tommy, you'd say that Shane's probably we'd probably say Shane is still the most, but Tommy and Shane are probably gonna be the faces of like the sort of interviews, stuff like that. Obviously, you don't really see much from the likes of Shorty Zed,
but maybe that was more scraps than Watkins.
Yeah, I feel like their rivalry's still going to continue, but I feel like in terms of just doing interviews and breaking down games, etc., you're going to see a better show from Shane, who's able to obviously break down things in a good way, but also just sort of bring his comedic side to the.
Oh, they should definitely have Shane on trash talking after a game. If all the players are tired or got another game to go to, just bring Shane on, because Shane will just say some wild stuff.
Yeah,
it's completely, because he hasn't even got to play. He can just say whatever he wants. Oh yeah, we're gonna smash them. Terrible, awful, every single one of them. And he was always known for that anyway. So yeah, I would like to see that. I think it's a good opportunity. I like the fact that Reciprocity are doing content. Their gaming house tour or whatever, or potential gaming house, I think it was, because they didn't want to be near the landlord or something, which is a good idea.
I've seen that,
yeah, I saw their gaming house. I've seen their gaming house.
Oh, you know which one they're actually in?
Yeah, I know what one they're actually in.
I've seen some of the ones that Red were looking at, and yeah.
I'm just going to have to move in on these teams.
Not as good as my 3-bed in northeast of England, but yeah, they're alright, to be fair.
Yeah, it's not quite my 2-bedroom flat in Paisley, Glasgow.
I'm in the south. Anyway, let's kind of go to questions from the chat now, because this is actually running longer than I thought it was. So I'm going to put chat questions in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Chinese food is getting cold.
Oh, you could have just
very sorry, Mark. You could have eaten and on this.
Nah.
Many questions.
All right. Well.
Really.
Oh, here we go. Not esports related. What is everyone's favourite takeaway?
Ooh.
Indian.
Tough one. I would say
Indian.
Indian or Chinese.
Like a good Indian restaurant.
It's too heavy for me, mate. It's too heavy.
Nah.
I'm gonna have to.
You're Alan Bryce. There's no such thing as too heavy for you. I've seen you eat a full platter of meat.
How dare you fat shame me on this? How dare you?
I've seen you eat 2 burritos before, like 2 massive burritos, like in one sitting.
We've been to Bodian's 4 days in a row once, and you're telling me Indians. I didn't eat a vegetable one Gfinity. I didn't eat a single one. All we had was meat. And Indians is too heavy for you. Bullshit. No, it isn't.
I'm a new man, all right?
Talk out your ass.
I've got like some more muscle now and a little bit less fat, and that makes me a new guy, all right? Okay. So shut up.
Anyway, I want to talk on something before we get some more questions in the chat.
All right, that's fine. I'm going to pick KFC anyway.
KFC?
What?
There's one down the road. I'll be honest with you. At the moment,
Bring it back.
There's one with a drive-through just down the road, so...
No, we're not having this, man. Honestly...
I was going to pick Nando's, but that's a bit poncy.
I wouldn't really count that as a takeaway.
It's not takeaway. Takeaway, you're talking Chinese, Indian kebab pizza. Chippy.
None of those, man.
But that's a takeaway, mate.
I can take away Nando's.
No, I know, but it's not the quintessential takeaway, is it? You don't think
We're talking like a place you can't
like
sit down in.
Yeah, like a dirty kebab.
You can't sit down in an Indian, mate. Are you mad?
Well, I'm
mad?
Is this a southern
right.
thing that you don't understand what a real takeaway is? This is.
Anyway, we're moving on because other people
God,
have
we've
got
got
questions related to
questions,
these sports.
God.
For Mark, what is the toughest part of being a coach?
Not playing.
Not playing. Do you get frustrated?
Yeah, you just want to be playing and just.
I mean, you were playing not that long ago, weren't you? So I suppose it is.
You played in the 2K, Mark.
Yeah, no, but I mean, just I love the idea of just being in the team and like wanting to grind to improve and focus on improvement of the team, which obviously I'm doing as a coach, but I do miss the spectating 6 hours of scrims isn't as fun as obviously playing 6 hours of scrims. So
I can imagine.
yeah, so
Right,
playing.
yeah.
Playing is probably the hardest thing.
I mean, I still even miss playing events, and that was years ago, and I wasn't very good. I still like constantly miss the whole going to like these smaller lands. Yeah, but there's GPs. But
I play Blackout, so I'm good now.
Yeah, well, you just play Blackout. But at the same time, it's just like things like going to these events, screwing with your team, getting proper sweaty in the games. It's nothing like it, man. It's great fun.
All right, let's move on. Mark, how are the Splyce Halo boys doing on COD?
I've watched them a little bit. I think that as I expect them to do, sort of thing, like they've not really been smoking any teams or destroying anyone, but they're still only like 4 weeks into playing a brand new game for them. And also, like I said, the rule set is fairly new as well, so they're still learning. I think they've got a good month until Vegas, so they've still got plenty of time. They just need to obviously just focus on improvement. There's a lot of things they definitely could improve on, so yeah.
Fair enough. All right,
someone was
swiftly
asking
moving on again.
What the Chinese order was, Mark?
Sweet and sour chicken, boiled rice. What else did I get? I got 2 drinks. I got a can of Iron Brew and a can. Oh fucking hell! I nearly spilt the can of Iron Brew.
Oh, no.
That was close. Can of Iron Brew, a can of Coke, and I can't even remember what starter I got. I got some sort of starter, but I genuinely can't remember what it was.
Not
Right,
bad.
I'm just
I'm
gonna
gonna
lay
move on.
down
I'm gonna move on.
I'm going to talk about my Chinese order. Okay.
Yeah, nobody cares about you apart from this next question is to us. Bryson Tunn, was it hard for you to become a caster? I did mine by accident. I don't know about Tunn.
Serious unfortunate accident. Mine was sort of by accident as well. Mine was just a reflex where I've been playing, and they needed somebody to cast, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a go.
Usually out at tournaments, yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Rel had food poisoning, so.
No, was that when you first casted?
Yep.
God damn it, Rel.
It was the very first event.
But in terms of like getting into it properly, when we did it, no. Now I would say it's harder.
Because it's super hard. It's crazy hard.
Because all the talent have been around for so long, it's super difficult.
You basically have to be a player now.
Yes.
I think is the way in. Yep. That's gonna continue on. Is Splyce considered an NA team or EU? I'm gonna just answer that it's NA. Judd's going out to NA from what I understand.
Yeah, Judd's lived in America for about over a month now.
Yep, he's definitely going out there. Yeah, Judd's in America. It's an NA team.
Yeah. He'll have a full-on Benson accent soon.
Yeah. Mark, how do you keep improving and stay composed when you are an up-and-coming player but stand without a team?
I think first and foremost you need to try and find yourself a team around your level, and just focus on improving that team as well as improving yourself as an individual. I think if your team starts beating other teams around that level or maybe even slightly higher than you, that's when your individual talent will start to shine through and you'll get noticed and then you'll start moving up the ladder, sort of thing.
Okay, no problem. Let's keep this moving on because I don't want to get your food too cold.
Yeah.
Mark costed Swan on the 2K. That's not a question.
Okay.
Mark, do you sleep in that hat?
Yeah.
From a friend of ours.
Do you know what it is? Yeah. I just this is my favorite hat, right? And I just can't bother doing my hair. My hair's been cut recently, but when I'm sitting at home, I'm not gonna sit and put gel in my hair and all that when I'm.
Oh man, I do that. I was gonna wear a hat for this.
Nah, I don't do my hair at home. Like that's just not me. So
mine's not.
yeah.
That's usually a mess.
I mean, you can see my hair. There you go.
Usually I'll go and do it if I go to the gym. But I haven't been to the gym today because I've basically broken my back. So,
there you go.
I might just agree. In fairness,
Looks fine.
that looks great. Looks better than mine. So, but then again, so does most things on this planet.
I mean, it's higher, but...
Right, one last question. That's the last one. Would you like to see an old school throwback LAN tournament, for example, a throwback Black Ops 2 tournament? I think we would all like to see it. It's just not viable in any way. Yeah, it's just not viable in any way. There's not much more to say on that.
Yeah, teams aren't going to take their time out to play the old game for it to be like somewhat competitive.
Yeah, plus LANs are expensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
like,
one
very
thing
expensive.
I sort of want to touch on is like why, like when people ask why aren't companies running more events in the UK, it's because they're expensive, basically.
It's not just like slightly expensive; it's
Yeah.
unbelievably expensive.
And like companies like EGL, companies like Gfinity, we have to make money off these things. It's not like we're just handing out events for free. So yeah, we can't host them unless you do.
I think realistically, even with if the prize pool went down to 20 grand again, that's the only way you can make it viable. Once you factor in like team tickets, all right, venue cost, production cost, talent cost, and just equipment, it's way too expensive. Like it's just so much money, which is why Activision probably aren't even doing as many, because the cost is huge to fly equipment all over the place.
And you look at the scale of the events that they do, and like people complain about like
12 weeks of the LAN League probably costs less than an event.
Yeah, well,
and that's with giving the players accommodation now. Actually, that may be slightly, but no, I mean even then, I don't know. You know, hotel costs are not going to be cheap, but it is considerably more viable.
But I think it is broadly underappreciated how much these things cost.
It's not even broadly underappreciated. It's people are delusional as hell. People are idiots.
I don't think that it just expands to like the AM community. I think a lot of pros take it for granted as well. To be honest with you.
Well, I did my own event, right? And this was it was a community event, and that's the event I did just for the hell of it, to give back to the community for when COD 4 released, for my career and everything. And I went massively out of pocket, and I had sponsors. I paid for that out of my own pocket, and I was sitting there going, that's why I've never done a second one, because unless I scaled it up massively and had a big sponsor come on board, it's just not even slightly viable. And I got the venue for free and the kit for free, and my friends worked the event. Thank you, Tom. And they stayed at mine. Like, and even then, I was still massively out of pocket.
I was on the sofa in yours. It was like an old school LAN. I loved it.
Yeah. Ton stayed on the sofa in the front room. Gooch got attacked by dogs. Like, it's one of those things. But anyway, that's the last question. I think we've because we can't really go into LAN costs because it is a huge topic.
Oh, we could talk about that.
Mark needs to eat. He's wasting away. Look at him. All right.
I'm actually starving right now, not going to lie to you.
Oh, come on.
That is the end of this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Marky, thank you so much for coming on. You are a lifesaver. Any shout-outs?
Shout out to yourselves. That's about it. Just shout out to you guys for doing this show. Top guys. More people should tune in. More people should soak in the unreal information that you're providing on a daily basis on YouTube. Weekly, but they should soak it in they should literally sit there and rewatch the same episode on a daily basis on YouTube. So obviously you can get that over on your YouTube as well. So
I should probably start doing videos again at some point.
Yeah, just leave them to me, pal. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I would do good ones. Anyway, Tunn, it's thanks for being the producer again. Any shout-outs for you?
We may well change the day of doing Spitfire at some point, because getting pros in is proving to be very difficult, because it seems that most of them scrim. I know you say they scrim all the time, Mark, but it seems as if a lot of them scrim more through the middle of the week. So we're going to try and
start scrims at 6, which is the worst possible time for us.
Unless we start pre-recording this, but we're going to try and find a way around it, and we will let you guys know on Twitter.
Awesome. And I think from me, shout out to people watching. I've kind of enjoyed doing Spitfire. Long may it continue for at least 2-3 more weeks. You can also check out my stream. So plug there, Bryce-tacular. I stream Blackout, the best Blackout you've ever seen. Not from me, but from the people I'm playing with. All right, that has been Spitfire Week 8. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.